Like I said, I looked into the kind of the lace making metaphor and its reality. And then I do have family still there in Puerto Rico. So right now, again, whenever something happens in a place, but we each have our closer ties, our family. So we just had another hurricane go through, and I feel things. So you feel it if people are losing power, you're feeling what's happening. So Hurricane Maria happened, and that was a lot of, you're sensing what is happening within a place that you're connected to. And I have a lot of artworks that are about connecting spaces, and I am weaving them together with monofilament across. From September 11th, huge one of seeing from above, I was working on touch maps. So hammering out this language, it really shifted for me, and it became a map and a cityscape. And the people that I was connected to, you just are instantly, are you okay? Where are you? And everyone, where were you at that moment? And we had a feeling of interconnection at that point that was so visceral that I felt like, okay, this is the negative experience and the positive that came out of it that we know we're capable of. We know that we are connected like that. How do we continue to use that? And everything after that, watching as something would happen in different places around the world, how did we kind of connect to do something about it? And I feel like that's part of what I'm exploring with the art too, of how best to utilize connections. If I'm connected to Puerto Rico, as I've got this ancestry there, how can I help? How can I do things that this is part of me? I want them to have the same safety and feeling that I do. So what do I do for that? And a lot of this is came from dreams and visions as well, but to try to have the work be part of that distribution. So when I sell an artwork, I put 10%, so it's a channel. This is something, and now this part is not for me. So this is to help me live and survive me, and this part is for me to figure out where it's going to help. And so I keep a list of things, and that list grows every year, but it changes as well with what's happening. And then I put little, and I think of it as pulses, the same way this is pulses of thought, this is little actions. So whatever, I can't donate a ton, but it is small bits to that lace network, to places where I hope it's going to help it grow in the right way. And this is part of the future that we're co-evolving. So with Puerto Rico, I have a whole bunch of things on that list.
I bet your list just grew a bunch.
So it's been.
So it's an energy exchange, really. Do you imagine your work, or is it as you're creating it? Like when you're looking at this piece of artwork and you're creating this language, did you foresee this and then create it? Did you sketch it out? How does this come to be? What is your process?
So these, as you're seeing, are very minimal. So this is a very simplified way of working if I'm doing a prayers piece like this. It's like a piece of notebook paper. I line it, and I'm very methodically going about filling those lines one by one. It's very easy to do this.
In the moment?
In the moment, because I have it lined out, so I'm just doing that. They've also evolved into weaves. Like I said, I'll let them now tell their own stories or go in different directions, depending on what I'm exploring. So during this, I was exploring what I was saying before about our architectures and our spaces. And I have other series that are about memory palaces, which was something that came, envision trying to understand our spaces being connected through time.
There's a feeling in history in this piece too. I feel like there's almost a history of architecture. I feel like you picked up on some of the columns, all different types of feelings that make me feel, connected to space and early architecture, where some of the resin pieces feel like the future.
Right. This was definitely looking backwards more and pulling it towards seeing that informing what we are creating now. So all of what we have learned was just looking into history, looking into our temples, our pyramids, what have we been doing as a civilization? Where has it worked in a way to create that feeling that I'm instilling when you enter a certain space and it changes how you want to behave and your understanding of yourself in a larger picture. That was built into some of our structures. How can we do that with some of our digital realms?
Like the metaverse?
Exactly. And this is so important because we are there, and I had a dream about it a long time ago that it was going to happen, that we are creating these shared digital spaces where there will be avatars that represent us, and there will be others. It was a really vivid and bizarre dream. It's here. We're here. But how are we going to do it? Is it going to show just some of the same what we're doing in our real world of what we're kind of obsessed with in different ways? Can we build some spaces that will bring out what we are capable of together as humanity for the benefit of humanity? We can do that.
Do you visualize those materials that would be optimal and space-wise, what that is? So let's say this is an archetype of what you're seeing, but do you visually see it in our real time now? Like buildings, centers, what are they made out of? What do they look like? Do you visualize that?
I dreamt it. So I have a visual that I feel was, given, and whether it's a combination of things I had taken in through books and media, or if it was actually a message in answer to my questions.
Okay.
I saw these spaces that will be around our planet in different spots. They are enjoyable spaces. They're entertaining spaces. But they are places where we go to feel what we can do together easily. And we're enjoyably understanding that when we do one small thing together, we can actually have clean water in this area. We can build solar panel whole village here. We can do things that are amazing if we are all working together simply. And that was, those spaces will evolve. We have to co-evolve. We have to know that that's what we would like.
I also have a question for you. You're working with books, and like you're saying, they're archaic now. There's at some point, they're almost obsolete. I have a beautiful book collection, and I love my book collection, and I hold it very dear to myself. How do you see the future of your material language? Your work looks very futuristic, just the photography of it, but the material, what you're using is something that is being considered almost archaic, obsolete.
It's, in general, we think it's kind of obsolete. I have the same thought when I started getting those books. Since we started, computers, personal computers, and so on, if you recall 20, 25 years ago, maybe more, people say printing is over. And we print more. We can way more.
In volume.
In volume. I was reading on the past and lately, the last few days for this presentation. So United States is trying to print more than any other country. 5 years in China. Brazil, I think, is the number 15 or 16, which is not even 47,000. Most of, I saw a report in 2006, we recycled 95% of paper in the United States.
95%?
95%.
Oh, wow.
So we create this concept that, recycling, this is over, but we just vague information, vague people thinking and talking about it instead of go to the right source, to the right, facts. Thank God they're recycling, that's for sure. Just put this in perspective, supermarket spend 6 million tons of paper per year. One supermarket. We have, I think, 68,000 supermarkets. So I'm shifting a little bit from books to what we use on a daily basis. Paper is not going to go away anytime soon. But of course, that's a transition. As I mentioned before, younger generation are more in the digital. They still have books. The teachers are still, telling them to read. They have some, resistance because it's very easy to see everything digital, is everything there, one finger instead of pull the paper and so on. So I think it's all about transformation. If you think about the Egyptians, they don't have paper, they have a hammer and a wall, the little things.
So where's the future of your work? Where do you see your work going?
As I see, everything in life is just a transition. I might be doing this for a while. I don't know how long. And since I feel like an explorer, I love to see new things, and I'm working on other series. I might be stopping this for a few years and maybe return.
And these are limited edition prints?
It's all limited edition prints. I'm more likely out.
Do you do the printing?
I do myself, the prints.
Oh wow, that's unique.
Yep. And I control the printing. All the prints has a watermark. Everything that can give more character to the print, exclusive, and that's my goal.
Now you say you don't manipulate it, but like, for example, on a piece like this where we have color, what's going on here?
The book was painted mostly in watercolor.
Oh, so this is actually
It's
watercolor.
not Photoshop.
Oh,